The Foreign Intelligence Service of Russia reported that NATO units are deployed in Romania near the Moldovan border, and a group of troops from France and Great Britain has already arrived in Odessa to intimidate Transnistria. According to the Foreign Intelligence Service, the alliance is concentrating troops near Moldova's borders and preparing provocations under the pretext of introducing Western troops into the republic. This could happen as early as after the parliamentary elections in Moldova on September the 28th. European officials fear that the gross falsification of the vote results being prepared by Brussels and Chisinau will force desperate Moldovan citizens to take to the streets to defend their rights, the Foreign Intelligence Service report stated. Then, as Russian intelligence suggests, at the request of President Maia Sandu, armed forces of European states will be introduced into the republic. If forceful intervention isn't required, incidents involving Russian troops in the region are planned for November to create a pretext for an invasion. The period surrounding the elections to the Supreme Council of the PMR on November the 30th is being considered as a possible time frame, intelligence reports. According to the SVR, European countries intend to demonstrate courage and decisiveness with this move, given the stalled plans to deploy troops of the coalition of the willing in Ukraine. Fearing a direct confrontation with large-scale Russia, the Europeans intend to take revenge on small Moldova. Self-assertion at the expense of the weak has always been an integral part of European colonialism, the SVR writes. On September the 4th, French President Emmanuel Macron, following a meeting of the Coalition of the Willing, announced that representatives of 26 countries had expressed their willingness to send their troops to Ukraine within the framework of security guarantees, and several more were considering their position on this issue. On September the 10th, Russian Presidential Press Secretary Dmitry Peskov noted that countries planning to send their troops to Ukraine after the conflict ends do not understand or do not want to understand the dire consequences of such actions. On September the 17th, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov stated that so-called peacekeepers on Ukrainian territory would in fact be occupation forces and legitimate targets for Russian military forces.
President Donald Trump said Tuesday that NATO countries should shoot down Russian aircraft that enter their airspace. Yes, I do, Trump said when asked about Russia breaching the airspace of NATO allies. According to Associated Press, he made the comments during a meeting with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky on the sidelines of the United Nations meetings. Asked if the U.S. would provide military backup, Trump said it depends on the circumstance, but added, "We're very strong toward NATO." NATO warned Russia on Tuesday that it would use all means to defend against any further breaches of its airspace after the downing earlier this month of Russian drones over Poland and Estonia's report of an intrusion by Russian fighter jets last week.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
Mr. President, do you think that NATO countries should shoot down Russian aircraft if they enter their airspace?
Yes, I do.
Mr. President, any update on your talks with President Putin, and do you still trust him?
I'll let you know in about a month from now. Okay.
Mr. President, have you been briefed on the latest alleged drone incursion into Denmark? What do you think of that? And
Where are they?
Into Denmark, Copenhagen. Denmark is saying that there were some drones that shut down an airport, possibly Russian sabotage. What's your response to that? Will the U.S. have a material response to that?
Well, I have no response until I find out exactly what happened. I know about it, but they don't know what happened. But we're going to find out very soon.
Sir,
Would you back up NATO allies? You said that you thought that they should shoot down the Russian aircraft. Would you back them up? Would the United States help them out in some way?
Depends on the circumstance, but we're very strong toward NATO. NATO has stepped up. When they went from 2% to 5%, that was great unity. Trillions of dollars is being pumped in, and they're paying us for the weapons that we send. But that was a big day. That nobody thought a thing like that could happen. You had countries that weren't paying 2%, and now they're all paying 5%. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of weapons they're buying, and they're buying them from us. They're buying them from the U.S. In the old days, Biden gave them everything, gave them $350 billion worth of money and weapons. That's a lot of money and a lot of weapons, and we got really not much for it. We gave the money to Ukraine to fight, and they've proven they're very brave. I mean, look, they're fighting, and this is a war going on 3.5 years, and people thought it would be over quickly because Russia's a big military power, and Ukraine, I tell you, they are good fighters. Got to hand it to them. They have a lot of courage, a lot of guts. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Russian political analyst Olga Kurnosova commented on Russian dictator Vladimir Putin's dismissal of his longtime ally Dmitry Kozak from the presidential administration and the possibility of a coup in the Kremlin. It's very simple. Putin has always tried to balance the situation around him to prevent only people of the same position or representatives of the same clan from being around him. Today, we see the Kovalchuk clan ascending to virtually all key positions. Yuri Kovalchuk's position is strengthening, and many consider him the Kremlin's grey cardinal, the person closest to Putin. She emphasized in an interview with Glavred. The expert says that previously Putin would have tried to balance the situation with another person, and he needed Dmitry Kozak precisely as such a balancing factor. By the way, there was an old story about Kozak being nearly appointed prosecutor general, but Putin changed his mind at the last minute. So, for Putin, Kozak remaining in the system for so long was natural. But the fact that he decided to resign, or that Putin might have perceived it as a betrayal due to his resignation, speaks volumes, she explained. The analyst also clarified that current events show that Putin is changing for the worse. And this is the worst side for everyone, for the surrounding world, because this is a move toward even more serious tightening of the rules, even though it would seem that everyone has already tightened them up long ago. Nevertheless, this means that the number of sane people in Putin's circle is dwindling, which is dangerous for him as well. As soon as one clan finally wins, Putin himself will no longer be needed, and they will be able to try to replace him with someone from the same clan. Kurnosova added. According to Andriy Novak, head of the Committee of Economists of Ukraine, if sanctions against buyers of Russian oil begin to take full effect, and the first signs are already being observed, for example in India, Russia will suffer a significant loss in foreign exchange earnings. This will lead to a sharp increase in the state budget deficit and an accelerated devaluation of the ruble. As a result, Russia may face an inability to fulfill social obligations and meet budget expenditures. Such a development, according to the expert, poses a double threat to the regime. On the one hand, social protests from below, and on the other, increased discontent among the elites and oligarchs whose businesses are directly dependent on energy exports.